In the late summer of 2017 began a strange phase in my life that led to a sequence of paranormal events that haunt me to this day and will probably haunt me forever. From about August to October is the timeline for these events. I started watching these videos on YouTube about stupid 3 a.m. challenges, knowing that most of them are fake. However, a few really did intrigue me. One known as the closet game especially, and the use of the Ouija board. In my garage, I played the closet game. There was this little room inside the garage that worked perfectly. Nothing ever seemed to happen, but I do recall always getting bad vibes from that room ever since then. I started playing with a Ouija board first, with friends. Then I started playing it alone to see if it would work. I know you're never supposed to play with these things alone, but I still did it. I played so often, talking to many different entities. Eventually, I started talking to something called Zozo. I knew Zozo was bad from the get-go. I've seen all about him on YouTube, and I read up extensively on my own, doing my own research on what the name was based from and why they use it. I say they because I believe that Zozo is not a real name. I believe it's a trick name that bad spirits use to gain power. I eventually became obsessed with the board and Zozo, speaking to him almost every day and night, just casually laughing as he threatened me, knowing that he really couldn't do much. That's what I thought, at least. However, I started to notice some changes. One night, I decided to play the Ouija board in the room I played in the closet game. After all, it did give me bad vibes, so, being the idiot that I am, decided sure. As I played alone in this room by myself, there sat an old TV that wasn't plugged in. I could see my own reflection somewhat cloudy in the TV, but it was easy to make out features of myself. I began to play the board, and as always, Zozo appeared. Whenever I would want to talk to him, I never had fear, and I knew that he was a demon. I believe he knew that I knew this, and the fact that I was still talking to him made him somewhat calmer. He was always very calm with me, and when I would ask questions, he would respond respectfully. Me and him would tease each other often. I'd ask him where he was sitting, and the planchette pointed directly in front of me, where the TV was. I asked if he could do something, some way, to show himself to me, and he moved swiftly to yes. I quickly asked what he was going to do, and the planchette moved to the center of the board and forward. I didn't understand it at first, but I realized he was pointing. I looked up at the TV and watched in a combination of horror, disbelief, and awe as my reflection began to morph into a horrific creature. It somewhat still held some of my features, like my hair and clothes. However, the eyes went pitch black, looking like holes. It was like staring into a deep abyss. The eyes were not just circular. They seemed like they were dripping almost, like the darkness was slowly dripping down and out of the reflection of the eyes. The mouth was, hilariously enough, exactly like the Scream mask. It looked absolutely horrific, but at the same time, cliché. So I'm not sure if this was genuinely an experience or not, but it was still very interesting to say the least. And I really don't think, based off of everything else that happened later, that it was my imagination playing on me. On another day, my friend came over, and the two of us were smoking in my garage. I know again that you're never supposed to play the Ouija board in an altered state of mind, but at this point, I didn't know that Zozo had influence over me. I go to play the board, asking if my friend wanted to join. He politely refused, and I played alone, again talking with Zozo. I got bored, of course, as I always talk to Zozo, and decided to just put the board away. I got out my box of knives and started showing my friend my collection. But we both started feeling this weird energy in the air, like static. You know when you feel static electricity pulling your hair towards it? It was like that, but everywhere. Like the whole room was just full of static electricity. I thought it was just me, so funnily went to touch my friend to shock him. However, it didn't work. He was also feeling this static energy, and as quick as it went, it seemed to vanish. I started spacing out after this. Apparently, I grabbed one of my knives and very slowly put it to my neck and started leaning my head on it, as if I was about to slice my own throat. When I came to, I felt the knife pressed against my neck and was confused, my friend not paying attention and on the computer. At that moment, I knew immediately that I could no longer play with the board, because it was like something else had taken over my body. I promised myself that I would never play it again and put it away in my closet. About 3 times a week, I would find myself unaware of reaching for the board, even though I promised that I would never play it again. This is when I realized that I might be under some kind of demonic influence. I've since cleaned myself of this, and I'm okay now, but there's still one more story to share. One night, I was sneaking out of my house and went to hop the gate that leads into the alley so I could get out of my backyard. Once I hopped the gate, I started walking out of the alley when I extremely and distinctly heard in a loud whisper, "Come back," in a sinister tone. I screamed like a scared little girl and ran to my car to get the hell out of there. And the same night, once I got home, at around 3 a.m., I decided to open my third eye in the bathroom. A lot of people have their own opinions about whether it works or not, and I'm fully aware that people have their doubts, and that's okay, because I didn't believe it at first either, but it does work. I was opening my third eye, and right when I felt the energy, very furiously, I felt this tingling in my forehead as it opened. And then I heard what I can only describe as a demonic laugh. 3 little laughs that sounded like they were from a horrific creature. I ran out of that bathroom, and I felt this malicious energy behind me. I ran to my room and closed my eyes and prayed so hard to ask God for forgiveness because I did something that I shouldn't have, and I asked Him for help. Immediately, I felt those horrible energies dissipate. I haven't dabbled in the paranormal at all since then, but I still have odd occurrences here and there. I'm just scared that whatever this thing is, it's going to follow me for the rest of my life, because I was foolish enough to mess with a Ouija board and speak with something that calls itself Zozo.